morning finds you before you find it. You do not spring from your straw mattress the way you once did. No, those days are gone. Now, the waking is slow, quiet. You linger beneath the woolen blanket, tracing the familiar aches in your knees, the stiffness in your shoulders, the weight of another year that has settled into your bones like dust into the cracks of the old church wall. The rooster crowed long ago, but what is a rooster to you now? Once it called you to the fields at dawn, the mill at first light, the market before the sun had dried the morning dew. But you have earned your slowness. The children and the younger folks, they are already about their work. You'll rise when your body lets you. When you finally do sit up, your breath comes out in a small, satisfied sigh. Still alive, still yourself, you reach for your wooden shoes beside the bed, worn smooth by countless mornings like this one, and shuffle across the cold floor. Your joints crackle in protest. You smile. This is what it means to be old in the Middle Ages, to crackle and creak and still keep going. The cottage is quiet, save for the fire crackling low in the hearth. A younger hand must have risen early to stoke it. Someone left a bit of bread on the table. Stale, but it will do. You chew slowly, feeling the grainy crumbs fill your mouth, dry and simple. No feast, but enough. And what will you do with this day? You could sit by the fire, spinning stories for whoever has the time to listen. You could help mend a tunic or patch a shoe, your fingers slower but still skilled. You could walk to the church and say a prayer for your knees, your back, your children, your neighbors, your old dog that sleeps beside the hearth. The choices are simple, like the choices of most days in the village. But first, you step outside. The morning air is sharp and cool. It smells of damp earth and wood smoke and the faintest trace of livestock. You squint against the brightness of the day, though the sun itself is weak, filtered through a gray sky that promises rain by nightfall. Around you, life hums softly. A neighbor's boy chases a goose down the lane. A woman draws water from the well, her hands red from the cold. Somewhere, someone laughs. Somewhere else, someone coughs. You stand there, in the middle of it all. Not as a laborer anymore, not as a child or a youth, but as the quiet observer life has made you. You are a living memory now, a witness. The village remembers what you remember, and when you go, some of those memories will vanish too, but not yet. Today you are still here. Perhaps someone greets you. Good day, old one. No cruelty in it, just truth. You nod, smile, maybe offer a comment on the weather as one does. You've earned your place in the rhythm of the village where greetings are short and kindness is measured in shared chores and mended fences, not in grand speeches. And what do you look like, you wonder? Your reflection is a rare sight. Mirrors are for wealthier homes, but you have seen your face in the still water of the well. In the polished metal of a cooking pot, you know the lines that crease your brow and the gray that weaves through your hair? You wear the face of someone who has survived poor harvests and bitter winters and foolish kings, face carved by life itself. But you are not just a relic. You are useful yet. When the children squabble, they come to you for the story of how their parents once quarreled just the same. When a neighbor falls ill, they ask for your herbal tea, steeped in plants you gathered in younger days. When the priest stumbles over his Latin, you mouth the words from your bench near the back of the chapel, half remembered, but comforting. And when you are alone, truly alone, you speak aloud to yourself. Words to keep your mind from drifting too far into silence. You tell yourself the weather. You tell yourself the names of your grandchildren. You remind yourself what year it is, though the calendar means little, only that winter will soon give way to spring. Today you decide to walk a little farther than usual. Past the well, past the smithy, past the field where young men turn earth with heavy plows. Your steps are slow, but steady. The road is muddy from last night's rain, and your shoes pick up the weight of the earth as you go. You pause to catch your breath by the hedgerow, where the birds scold you for disturbing their morning, when in that stillness, you think, is this what the end of life feels like? Not terror, not regret, but quietness. The slowing of the day, the soft rustling of leaves, the distance between yourself and the noise of the world. But this is only the beginning of your day. You still have bread to eat and a hearth to tend. You still have people to greet and stories to tell. And so you turn back toward home, where the smoke curls warmly from your chimney. You will rest your bones beside the fire and perhaps, if your hands are steady enough, carve another spoon from the scrap of wood you've been saving. Or hum an old song, half forgotten, waiting for someone to ask you to finish it. The morning stretches before you, gentle and wide, and you, old one, walk slowly into it. The day grows older with you. By midday, the sun has clawed its way through the clouds, casting a pale, uncertain light across the village green. You sit on the worn wooden bench outside your cottage, your back against the sun-warmed wall, your hands busy with some small task. Perhaps it is a basket that needs mending. Perhaps it is a bit of thread untangled, or a dull knife slowly coaxed back to sharpness with patient strokes on the whetstone. The work is slow, like you, but steady, still steady. Your fingers do not move as quickly as they once did. The knuckles are swollen, the tendons tight, but there is a rhythm in the work that comforts you. Slow, steady, useful. In the Middle Ages, old age does not mean rest. Not entirely. There is always something to be done. Even if you are too old to plow, too stiff to chase chickens, too slow to carry water, there is still thread to spin, herbs to sort, tales to tell, prayers to whisper, small things, but important in their way. Around you, the village hums in a quiet lull between morning labor and the evening rush. The clanging of the smith's hammer has paused. The mill wheel creaks more slowly now. Even the chickens have settled into the shade, pecking lazily at the dry earth. Somewhere, someone is baking bread, and the scent of warm yeast and wood smoke floats on the breeze. You smile at that. There are few better smells in this world. Children tumble past, barefoot and loud, chasing each other with sticks that are in their minds, swords or spears or perhaps enchanted wands. They pay you little mind except when one of them trips and scrapes a knee, and suddenly they remember who you are. Old one, a child, sniffles, thrusting a scraped elbow toward you. What should I do? You squint at the wound. What is nothing much? It's a thin smear of blood and dirt, the kind of wound that means you are still alive and running. You click your tongue, theatrically grave. Ah, I see. You'll live, but you mustn't let the goblins smell the blood, or they'll be after you tonight. The child's eyes widen. Goblins. You smile softly, tie a rag gently around the elbow, and pat the little head. Now run along and tell the goblins I'm watching them. And off they go, shrieking with delight. It is not healing, perhaps, but it is comfort, and sometimes comfort is enough. A neighbor ambles by a woman whose face has begun to gather its own fine lines. Younger than you, but not young. She carries a basket of greens and offers you a nod. Cold for summer, isn't it? She says, by way of conversation. It's colder than my knees, warmer than my heart, you reply deadpan. She laughs, shaking her head. Still sharp, I see. Sharp as a spoon, you think. But you keep that to yourself. She lingers a moment, asking whether you've heard of the Lord's new taxes. You have. Everyone has. You both sigh in the way only villagers can sigh. Long-suffering, but resigned. There is nothing to be done. Kings will tax, lords will take, and villagers will grumble over their cabbage soup. You trade a few more words, then she moves on, her basket bumping against her hip. Alone again, you return to your work. The sky above is beginning to thicken with clouds once more. The birds are quiet in the hedges. A soft wind stirs your thin hair. And suddenly you feel it. That strange loneliness of the old. You are surrounded by life and yet apart from it. The children belong to each other. The working folk share their labors. Even the dogs seem busy, chasing each other through the village lanes. And you sit on your bench, keeping time with your slow, steady fingers. But there is peace in this too. A quiet kind of belonging. The village does not run without you. Not because you swing a hammer or till the fields, but because you remember. Because you have watched the seasons spin past, like the turning of a great wheel. Because you know which herbs cure a cough and which mushrooms should be left for the crows. Because when the wind blows from the east, you tell them to cover the beehives, and when the moon is high. You warn the children to come home early. That is enough. For now, it is enough. Your stomach rumbles, reminding you that old bones still need feeding. Slowly, carefully, you rise from the bench. You steady yourself against the wall, waiting for the world to stop tilting. Then you shuffle inside, where a pot of thin soup waits on the hearth, parsnips mostly, maybe a bit of onion if the garden was kind. You ladle it into a cracked wooden bowl and settle by the fire to eat. Each spoonful warms you, simple and plain. This is not the feast of a knight or a merchant, but it fills your belly, and that is what matters. Afterward, you sit a while longer, letting the warmth soak into your bones. The fire crackles softly, and the shadows shift lazily across the stone walls. You close your eyes for a moment, just a moment, resting your head against the worn wood of your chair. And in that moment, you feel something like contentment. The day is not yet done. The sun will dip low, and the evening bells will call the workers home. There will be more small tasks, more quiet conversations, more bread and broth. Life goes on, slow and steady, and so do you. The afternoon finds you in the quiet between things. The midday meal has settled in your belly, the fire has gone to embers, and the cottage feels still, almost drowsy. Outside, the village hums on without you for a time. Children's laughter fades to murmurs. The blacksmith's hammer strikes again, but softer, less urgent, as if even iron needs a rest. You sit by the doorway, where a slice of pale sun warms the threshold, and you do what the old so often do, you watch. You watch the world go about its noisy business and feel no great hurry to join it. Once you might have hurried along that lane with a bundle of sticks on your back or a jug of water in your arms. Once your voice might have risen in the market square, bartering onions for wool, or gossiping about whose pig broke through the neighbor's fence. But now, you are stillness among motion, like a stone in the stream. The world flows around you. Neighbor's rooster struts past your feet, looking at you sideways, as if wondering whether you are worth the trouble of a crow. You lift a hand in mock greeting. The rooster, unimpressed, goes on his way. And so do your thoughts, wandering as your body cannot. You think of people who are no longer here, faces lost to the years, names that no longer pass between lips except yours. Old friends, old loves, perhaps. That boy who laughed too loudly, the girl who danced by the midsummer fire. That brother who never came back from the King's War. They are with you still, crowding the corners of your mind like ghosts, who've grown too comfortable to leave. Sometimes the young ones ask you about them. What was he like? Old one. That man who built the church bell. And you smile, not quite sad. He had hands like hammers and a heart like fresh bread. He sang while he worked and never could remember his prayers. They laugh and run off, satisfied with the answer, never knowing how much more there is to the story. The afternoon stretches on. You decide after some thought to walk to the garden patch behind your cottage. Slowly, slowly, there is no race. And if there is, you are not running in it. The garden is nothing grand. A few rows of herbs, a bit of cabbage, some carrots poking their green tops above the soil. Weeds try to make themselves at home here, as weeds always do. You stoop carefully to pull one free, wincing as your back complains. But it is good work, honest work, and your hands remember how to do it. You whisper to the plants as you go. Grow well, little one. Don't let the frost bite you too soon. It is a foolishness, perhaps, but no one hears you but the earth, and the earth does not judge. By and by, a younger neighbor calls from the lane. A boy with arms full of firewood, his face flushed from effort. Old one, do you need a hand with anything? You pause, leaning on your hoe. This is a delicate balance. You could say no, pride puffed up like a rooster's chest. Or you could say yes, admitting that sometimes a body simply needs a little help. Today, you choose the softer answer. Stack the wood by the hearth, will you? My knees will thank you. He grins and runs off to do it, eager for a chance to be useful. You watch him go, a little smile tugging at your lips. The world turns, the young grow strong, and the old grow wise. If all goes well, he'll be where you are someday, gray-haired, slow-footed, smiling at the fire while someone younger chops the kindling. You finish what you can in the garden, brush the dirt from your hands, and head inside as the afternoon slips toward evening. The air grows cooler, sharper. Clouds gather at the edges of the sky, and the scent of distant rain rides the breeze. Back inside, your cottage feels warm, welcoming. The boy has stacked the firewood neatly, and you nod in quiet approval. You sit again by the hearth, letting the crackling fire fill the room with its soft, steady song. It is in these hours between labor and supper, between light and dark, that the thoughts creep in. How many days like this remain? Will you see another harvest? Another frost? Another spring? Or is this your final autumn, your last turning of the earth? But then you shake your head, softly amused at yourself. Questions like that are for kings and priests and poets. You are a villager, a person of bread and cabbage and muddy shoes. You will meet your end when it comes, not before. And until then, there is soup to stir and wood to burn, and perhaps a song to hum beneath your breath. And so you hum. A song you barely remember, an old melody from some festival long ago. Your voice is thin, a little cracked, but it fills the room nonetheless. For a moment, you are young again, spinning in the midsummer light, your feet light, your heart careless. But only for a moment. Then the fire pops, and your bones remind you where you are and who you are. And the afternoon slips away like smoke through the rafters. You rest your hands in your lap and wait for evening to find you, and it does. Evening does not crash into your life. It drifts in, soft and familiar, like a friend who knows not to knock, but simply enters. The light outside fades from gray to blue to something darker still, and you feel it in your bones before you see it with your eyes. The village slows as the sky darkens. Doors close, shutters are fastened, and smoke curls from chimneys, each one a quiet flag of human life against the vastness of night. Chickens roost. Children at last are gathered indoors, scrubbed and sleepy-eyed, their wild games traded for bread crusts and bedtime scoldings. The world becomes small and quiet, tucked beneath the blanket of dusk. Inside your cottage, the fire burns low but steady. You feed it another log, hearing it hiss softly as the damp wood catches flame. The warmth spreads slowly, and you stretch your hands toward it, grateful. These fingers, stiff and swollen, have done their share of work. They have pulled weeds, spun thread, kneaded dough, and comforted crying babies, while they rest, warmed by fire and memory. You slice a bit of cheese from the small wheel wrapped in cloth beside your hearth, hard and sharp, but it fills the belly. You tear a chunk of brown bread with your teeth. The crust is tough, but so are you. Supper is simple and quiet, like the day behind you. It's no feast, but no hunger either. In the corner of the room, the shadows lengthen. Mouse rustles somewhere near the grain sack. You let it be. It has as much right to warmth as you do. In the Middle Ages, you've learned some battles are not worth fighting. Mice and men both need to survive the winter. As you eat, your mind wanders to the chapel bell. Soon, it will toll for Compline, the last prayer of the day. You will not walk to the church tonight. Your knees have spoken clearly on the matter. But in your heart, you will join them. Your quiet prayers whispered into the dark, like seeds cast upon uncertain soil. Perhaps they will take root, perhaps not. You say them anyway. You lean back in your chair, the one your son carved for you long ago. The joints creak just as yours do. You fit together in your shared weariness. Through the window, you can just make out the faint glow of torchlight along the lane, where the night watch makes its slow, steady rounds. The world may be dangerous beyond the fields, but here in your little corner, wrapped in wool and firelight, it feels safe enough. For now, you remember when nights were different, when fear crept beneath the doors in the shape of wolves, or bandits, or worse still, plague. You remember nights when the whole village huddled in silence, waiting to see who would cough next, who would not wake in the morning. But those nights, mercifully, are not tonight. Tonight is quiet, and so you let yourself soften. A knock at the door, sudden but not alarming. You smile to yourself. Only one person knocks like that, hesitant, polite, as though the door itself might be offended. "Come in, child," you call. And there she is, a young girl from 2 cottages down, cheeks pink from the cold, a bundle of mending in her arms. Mother must have sent her, knowing your fingers still remember stitches the girl has yet to learn. "Can you help, old one?" she asks, holding out the worn tunic. "I tried, but my thread keeps tangling." You chuckle softly, gesturing her inside. "Bring it here. Let's see if my eyes are as sharp as my tongue tonight." She sits on the floor by the hearth, watching as you thread the needle, your fingers slower but practiced. You sue while she chatters about the day's small happenings, whose goat escaped, who slipped in the mud, what songs they sang as they gathered firewood. Her voice fills the quiet like birdsong at dawn. And you are reminded yet again that being old is not just about what you cannot do. It is about what you can give. A story, a skill, a bit of comfort against the dark. When the last stitch is tied, you hand her the tunic, now whole again. She beams, the kind of smile only the young have, the kind that says the world is still mostly good. "Thank you, old one," she says, already halfway to the door. "Tell your mother to pay me in honey cake." You call after her, knowing she won't, but enjoying the thought. The door closes, and once more you are alone with your thoughts. You sit there for a long while, watching the fire, feeling the pull of sleep begin to weigh down your limbs. But before you give in to rest, you take a moment to speak aloud, as you often do when the night feels too large. "Oh," you murmur to the empty room, "I lived another day. Let's see what tomorrow brings." Outside, the wind rustles the trees, and the stars blink cold and distant above the thatched rooftops. Somewhere, a dog barks once, then is silent. You rise slowly, bank the fire, and draw the blanket up over your shoulders. Your bed awaits, humble and lumpy, but warm. And as you settle in, bones sighing with relief, you know this truth. Old age is not a victory or a curse. It is simply what comes after. And tonight, at least, it has brought you safely to rest. You wake before the rooster this time, not because you must, but because your bones said so. He pulled you from sleep with a familiar stiffness, a quiet ache that greeted the dawn before the birds did. It is a cold morning, colder than yesterday, and you sit up slowly, listening to the wind press against the walls of your little home. The fire has died to quiet ashes in the hearth. No matter, you have woken in colder places, colder times. You wrap your shawl around your shoulders and shuffle across the floor, each step reminding you that you are very much aliveness, that aliveness can sometimes hurt. There is comfort in the morning's small rituals. You stir the embers and coax a little flame from them, feeding it with careful patience. You break yesterday's bread, hard as the bench you sit on, but softened with a bit of broth left from supper. The day begins, not with fanfare, but with survival. And outside, the world waits. You step into the morning chill, the air sharp as a blade, slicing through your shawl and biting your skin. Frost laces the thatched rooftops, turning the village into something fragile and shimmering. The fields beyond the cottages are rimmed in silver, and your breath curls like smoke in the air. You stand there a moment, not doing, just being. It is easy, sometimes, to forget that this is enough, that waking, standing, breathing are small victories of their own. Especially in a world where cold winters and hungry mouths and wandering sicknesses so often write the final chapters of a life. A neighbor passes by, shoulders hunched against the cold, carrying a basket of turnips. He nods to you, his breath puffing in the air. "Cold one today," he says, voice muffled by a scarf. You nod back, cold enough to freeze the fleas off a monk. He laughs, a thin, warm sound in the morning frost. Humor, like firewood, is scarce but precious. You both keep walking, each carrying your own quiet burdens. Today you decide to visit the church, not because you are overly pious, but because it is warm, and the priest sometimes leaves out a bit of barley bread for those who come to pray. You make your way slowly, step by careful step, along the rutted path. The road remembers your feet. It has carried you for decades now. The chapel is small and plain, much like everything in your life, but it welcomes you. Inside, the candles burn softly, their light trembling against the cold stone walls. You sit near the back, where your cough won't disturb anyone, and your creaking knees can stretch out a bit. The priest drones on in Latin, his voice steady but distant, like a stream you cannot quite reach. You catch a word here and there. Miserere, peccator, requiem, old words for old sins. You bow your head, not because you feel particularly sinful this morning, but because it is what you have always done. And in that quiet space, something settles inside you. It's not peace exactly, but rest. A brief pause in the noise of your thoughts. After the prayers, the priest sees you to the door. He is young, younger than your youngest son would be if he were still alive. He offers you a kindly smile. "Another day, old one." "Seems so," you reply, pulling your shawl tighter. "And tomorrow's got no guarantee." He chuckles softly, the way only the young laugh at death. Back outside, the frost is beginning to melt beneath the sun's weak touch. Water drips from the eaves, puddling in the muddy road. Life returns to motion. Live by the well, leaning on the worn stone rim. You draw a little water, watching the bucket creak and sway on its rope. You splash some on your face cold enough to make you gasp, sharp enough to remind you that you are indeed awake. A younger woman waits her turn behind you, a child clinging to her skirts. You step aside, nodding your greeting. "Still walking, I see," she says, not unkindly. "For now," you reply, "till the saints give me better shoes." You leave them there, mother and child, and begin the slow walk home. Your legs protest, but they obey. Your mind wanders, but it returns. Along the way, you pass a field where boys are driving sheep toward their winter shelter. One of them waves and you wave back, though your arm feels heavy. You remember when that was your work. When your steps were quick and your whistle sharp and the sheep knew your voice. Now your work is different, quieter, less seen. You return home as the sun climbs and settle by the fire once more. There is thread to spin, or perhaps not. You might simply sit and listen to the wind sigh through the gaps in your cottage walls. The work will wait for you. The world, despite its hurry, will wait too. For now, the day is young, and so are you in your way. You sip the water from the well, tasting the cold stone and iron in it, and feel the warmth of the fire on your back. Still here, still here. The afternoon returns like an old, familiar friend, a little slower, a little softer than before. Sit by the window, your spindle resting in your lap, your fingers idle for now. Outside, the wind brushes the hedges and shakes loose a handful of brittle leaves, scattering them across the lane like forgotten promises. The world beyond your window keeps moving. Boots squelch in the mud. Children chase a ragged ball. Hens peck the earth in search of what little the frost has left behind. And you sit. Sitting is an art form at your age. The young call it doing nothing, but you know better. Sitting is where the world speaks quietly to those who bother to listen. You notice the cracked stone by the lane where water pools each rain. The way the blacksmith's son limps on his left foot, just like his father did. The way the clouds today remind you of a summer 30 years gone, when the sky promised rain and gave none. You are a collector of such things, now small details. Forgotten moments, memories tucked into your heart like herbs hung from the rafters. Useless to some, but useful in their way. A neighbor passes by with a basket of kindling, her face creased in frustration. "Why do winters grow longer as we grow older?" she asks, half to herself. You smile, slow and knowing. "Because our bones feel every day of it." She laughs softly, grateful for your answer, even if it solves nothing. In the Middle Ages, growing old is not something people speak about much. It simply happens. One day your hair is thick, and your stride is quick, and the next, the mirror or the still surface of the well shows you a stranger's face staring back, lined and worn, and a little sad around the eyes. But no one pities you. There is no time for pity. Life must go on. There are fields to till, fires to tend, roofs to mend before the snow comes. And so you help where you can. Small tasks, yes, but small tasks build a village. You sharpen a child's writing reed with your knife. You show a young girl how to patch a cloak, so the wind-won tea find its way in. You warn a neighbor to cover the herbs before the frost bites them to death. They thank you, and you nod, pretending it is nothing. But it is something. It always is. The sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, sliding behind the thatched roofs and bare branches. Shadows grow long and tangled across the lane. Your stomach reminds you that the bread won't cut itself. Slowly, carefully. You rise from your chair, feeling each joint unfold like a creaky gate. You cut a slice of bread, dip it in a bit of broth, and chew slowly, thoughtfully. There is no hurry in a meal like this. Food is not for pleasure, but for fuel. Even so, you savor it, God, because you know how rare it is, in this life, to have enough. The warmth of the fire, the taste of broth, the quiet of the room, these are riches. And yet, even in the quiet, your thoughts drift toward the edges of life. You wonder what lies beyond all this, beyond the fields and the churchyard, beyond the pain in your knees and the soft crackle of your hearth. You think of the saints, perhaps waiting somewhere, smiling gently at your questions. Or perhaps nothing waits. Perhaps this is all there is, Either way, it does not frighten you, as it once did. You have made peace, mostly. In the distance, the church bell tolls, softly, its voice tired, like yours, but steady. The call to prayer drifts over the rooftops, reminding the villagers that night is coming, the end of the day, and eventually, the end of all things. But not yet. Not today. You lean back in your chair, your hands resting gently in your lap. A moth flutters near the firelight, wings fragile and pale. You watch it, a tiny life drawn to warmth and light, risking its fragile wings for a little comfort. You understand that feeling? You've done the same, in your own way. Through the window, the last of the sun fades into a darkening sky. One star appears, faint but stubborn. You nod to it, an old habit. It's a silent greeting between old souls. And so the afternoon slips into evening, as it always does, carrying another piece of your life quietly away. No trumpet sounds, no crowd cheers, just the hush of the wind and the settling of dust on the windowsill. But there is comfort in the routine. You lived this day. You will greet the next if it comes. And if it doesn't, well, you've made your peace with that too. For now, you poke the fire one last time, watching the embers glow like distant stars in the hearth, and you rest. Night falls like a thick woolen blanket, worn but warm. Pull it over your little cottage, over the fields and the crooked lanes. It's over the chickens huddled in their coops and the dogs curled by the hearth. It hides the cracked walls and the muddy boots. It softens the sharp edges of the world. You sit alone by your fire, the only sound, the gentle crackle of burning wood, and the slow, steady beating of your heart. The night is deep and familiar. You have seen many nights. Nights when wolves prowled too close to the village. Nights when strangers knocked at doors, and no one knew whether to open them. Nights when sickness made the whole world quiet, save for the whispered prayers of the living. But this night is peaceful. Nothing waits beyond your door but wind and stars. You let out a long breath and listen to it leave you. The younger ones fear the dark. They see in it ghosts and goblins, curses and thieves. You know better. The dark is simply a place where light is resting. If anything lives in the shadows, it is tired souls like yours, sitting quietly, waiting for morning. You tend the last of the fire, making sure the coals will keep until dawn. You tie up the herbs hanging from the beams, so they will not fall into the embers as they dry. You gather your blanket around your shoulders and settle deeper into your chair. The bed can wait a little longer. Your body prefers the hearth. Somewhere outside, an owl calls. A low, steady sound as ancient as the night itself. You smile at it. Still hunting, old friend, you whisper. So am I, in my way. You wonder, as you often do, whether you will dream tonight. If so, what shape your dreams will take. Will you find yourself a child again, running barefoot through the meadow? Or will you walk the streets of your village as they once were, fresh and new, before the years and the wars and the taxes wore them thin? Sometimes your dreams are simpler still. A bowl of warm soup, a fire that never dies, a voice calling your name from across the fields. You close your eyes, just for a moment, letting the warmth soak into your bones, and then knock, knock. You open your eyes again, sighing softly. It is late for visitors. Who is it? You call, voice rough from the quiet. It's only me, old one, comes a soft reply. You smile despite yourself. It is the baker's boy, who is hardly a boy anymore. He steps inside, stamping snow from his boots, carrying a small cloth-wrapped bundle. Mama said you'd not made it to the market today, he says, setting the bundle on your table. Thought you might want a little bread warm from the oven. You shake your head, half scolding. Told your mother I'm not a charity case. And she told me, you're stubborn as an ox. He grins, wiping his nose on his sleeve. So here we are. You unwrap the bundle. Small loaf, still warm, its scent filling the tiny room like kindness itself. You tear it in half and offer him a piece. He hesitates, then takes it. Sit together for a few quiet moments, sharing the warmth of bread and fire. This bread won't last till morning, you say, between bites. Neither will the night, he replies, eyes on the flames. You nod, pleased. When the bread is gone and the fire burns low, he stands, brushing crumbs from his lap. Good night, old one, he says, lingering at the door. Good night, boy. Tell your mother her bread is too good for the likes of me." He laughs softly and disappears into the night, his footsteps fading into the quiet. Sit a while longer, feeling the peace settle back around you like dust. This is how the world endures. A little kindness, a little bread, a little warmth shared when the night feels long. At last your eyelids grow too heavy to fight. You rise from your chair, each joint voicing its complaint. You shuffle to your bed, rough sheets and all, and sink into it with a long, low sigh. The roof creaks in the wind. The fire sighs in its ashes. The night hums softly around you. And you, old one, close your eyes and let sleep find you again. Morning again, you greet it not with joy but with familiarity, like two old travelers who find themselves on the same road once more. The aches are where you left them. The fire needs stoking, as it always does. And outside, life has already begun without you, as it often does. You sit at your table, slowly breaking your bread into pieces small enough for your tired teeth. The taste is plain but solid, fills your belly in a way no feast ever could. It tells you you are still alive. The village stirs on, mostly without noticing you. People pass your door with baskets of apples and turnips, heading to the market square. A dog chases a goose in circles until both are too tired to continue. Someone hammers at a cartwheel in need of mending. They will not stop to think. The old one is still here. They have fields to tend and mouths to feed. But when you are gone, perhaps they will notice the gap where your quiet presence used to be. Or perhaps not. Perhaps life will roll on, as it always does. The world does not wait long for the old to leave. And yet they do remember you, in small ways. The baker still sprinkles a pinch of cinnamon in the bread each winter, because you once said it made the dark months warmer. The young mothers still tie their herbs into bundles the way you taught them, hung high in the rafters, where damp fingers cannot reach. The blacksmith's apprentice hums the lullaby you sang him when he was but a crying babe in the middle of a long, cold night. You are woven into their lives like a thread barely seen, but holding the cloth together all the same. Sometimes in the square, the children play a game where one sits on the bench and pretends to be you. They hunch their shoulders, waggle a finger, and scold the others. Mind the goats, you foolish boy. Or the saints will turn your feet backwards. They all fall over laughing. You watch from your doorway, smiling despite yourself. Let them laugh. There are worse ways to be remembered. The world outside your door is changing, though you try not to let it trouble you. The roads are busier now. Travelers come more often, with strange coins and stranger news. The Lord has built a new mill downriver, and some say it will steal the work from your village's humble one. Rumors drift like smoke on the wind, of wars in distant lands, of kings too young or too cruel to rule wisely. But here, in your little corner, things remain much the same. Bread still bakes, wood still cracks in the fire. People still need mending and meals and laughter and rest, and so do you. Today you sit by the chapel's stone wall, warmed by the afternoon sun. Your eyes close as you listen to the hum of bees in the rosemary. The priest walks past, his robes brushing the earth. He pauses, his shadow falling over you. "Sleeping, old one?" he asks. Thinking, you reply without opening your eyes. Though sometimes the two feel much the same. He laughs quietly and leaves you to your peace. Because what is there left to think about? You have already lived your stories. You have already made your mistakes, and survived most of them. There's no grand adventure waiting beyond the next hill. No treasure buried beneath your feet. Only this: a warm patch of sun, the whisper of bees, the comfort of stillness. And yet sometimes, in your quiet moments, you wonder what the world will look like when you are gone. Will the same paths wear deeper beneath hurried feet? Will your cottage crumble, stone by stone, until the earth swallows it whole? Or will someone else, years from now, sit where you sat, mend what you mended, speak your words without knowing where they came from? Perhaps not. But for now, you are still here. And so you rise once more, slow and steady, brushing the dust from your knees. You walk home as the shadows grow long behind you. Each step a little slower than the last, but each step yours. When you reach your cottage, the fire has gone low again, waiting for your hand. You kneel beside it, coaxing the embers to life with breath and patience. The flames answer you as they always have. And in the quiet glow of the hearth, you smile to yourself. The world has not forgotten you yet. The days shorten now. You feel it in your bones before you see it in the sky. The mornings stay longer in darkness, and the evenings come sooner with their chill. Time itself seems tired, stumbling a little faster toward winter. Your body grows slower still. There are days when your knees protest before your feet even find the floor. Days when the world feels like it is slipping ahead without you, leaving you to trail behind like the last stubborn leaf clinging to the tree. But your mind still wanders. It roams beyond the muddy lanes and crooked hedges. Past the chapel bell and the smithy smoke, you close your eyes by the hearth, and you are young again, sprinting barefoot through meadows, thick with clover, chasing after a runaway lamb or a boy with kind eyes. You were kneeling by your mother's side, learning how to knead bread, or whispering secrets to your best friend beneath the apple tree where no one else could hear. And for a little while, the aches fade. The weariness softens. You become light again. But always, gently, the world calls you back. A knock at the door, the kettle boiling over. A draft slipping through the shutter, reminding you where you are, and that, too, is good. You spend your afternoons watching the village prepare for winter. The young ones thatch the roofs, stack the wood, pickle the last of the summer vegetables. They laugh as they work, sometimes singing, sometimes shouting over each other like quarrelsome birds. They work without noticing how quickly their time will pass, how soon their knees will ache as yours do, and you'll love them for that. It is how it should be. Occasionally, they ask for your advice. Old one, how do we keep the onions from rotting in the cellar? And you answer, with a slow smile, hang them high, and sing to them sweetly when no one is watching. They roll their eyes, half amused, half unsure whether to believe you. Perhaps you are joking. Perhaps you are not. Let them wonder. Life is dull without a little mystery. As evening approaches, you sit with the baker's wife outside her cottage, peeling apples for drying. Her hands are quicker than yours, but she lets you help. The peel falls in long, curling ribbons to the earth, where chickens peck at them like they are something grand. She speaks of her children and the new taxes, of the price of flour and the rumor that the Lord's eldest daughter has fallen ill. You listen. You nod. You give no great wisdom, for what wisdom is there to give? Life is hard, and yet we live it. What else is there to know? When your basket is empty, and the sky has darkened to the color of old wool, she thanks you for your help. I hardly did anything, you say. Sometimes your company is enough, she replies. That stays with you as you walk home, your shadow long and thin beneath the rising moon. Sometimes your company is enough. You remember when you thought you had to do something grand with your life, build something, change something, prove something. But the years have sanded those sharp edges smooth. Now, you know, living quietly, kindly, and well is enough. At your cottage, the fire waits for you, and so does the night. You eat a little broth, stale bread softened in the bowl. You hum softly as you eat, though the melody is worn thin by the years, a lullaby maybe, or a hymn. You can't quite remember. After supper, you sit by the hearth, the room wrapped in a hush as soft as wool. The wind rattles the shutters, but you are warm here, safe enough. You pull your blanket close and close your eyes, letting your mind drift again. Maybe tomorrow the sun will shine. Maybe tomorrow your knees will ache less, and the soup will taste better, and the birds will return to the hedges. Or maybe not. But tonight none of that matters. Tonight you have a fire, a roof, a worn wooden chair that fits your tired frame like an old friend's embrace. And that is enough. You whisper a few quiet words, not quite a prayer, not quite a farewell, just something small to mark the end of another day. And then, softly, gently, the night takes you into its arms once more. And so at last, the day draws to its close. The fire sinks low in the hearth, the light fades from the sky, and the village sighs itself to sleep. You sit there still, wrapped in your blanket, watching the shadows stretch and settle like sleeping dogs across the worn floorboards. You have lived another day. It's not a remarkable day, not a grand one, but a full one. And that, in the end, is what most lives are made of. Not grand moments, but small ones. A shared smile, a bowl of soup, a patch of sunlight on the floor. Your body is tired in that deep, honest way that says, I have done enough today. No more is needed. Outside, the wind is quieted. The chickens are silent in their coop. The dogs are curled beneath the carts. The children dream their wild dreams in straw beds scattered across the village. Somewhere far off, an owl calls one last time, and then even it falls silent. You breathe out slowly, a soft, contented sound. The world is still turning, even if your place in it grows smaller by the year. And that is all right. You were never meant to hold the world alone. You think of those who will sit where you sit now one day, some stranger years from now, who will poke the same hearth, pull the same shutter closed against the cold. They won't know your name, most likely. They won't know the way you used to hum when you worked, or the way you used to scold the geese when they wandered too far. But they will sit here, warmed by the same fire, fed by the same earth, watching the same moon rise in the same sky. And perhaps in that, there is something like immortality. You shift in your chair, your bones reminding you gently that you will not live forever. Nor should you. The old ones before you understood this. They taught it in their quiet ways through stories by the hearth, through hands passed over heads in blessing, through the simple act of showing up for another day. It's even when the cold crept deep into their bones. And now it is your turn to live it. Soon enough to leave it. But not yet. Not tonight. Tonight, you stand slowly, stretching your back, feeling the weight of the years press against your shoulders like a familiar shawl. You bank the fire for the night, careful and slow, and draw the shutters closed. You move through your little cottage, touching the familiar things, the worn spindle, the cracked cup, the rough wool blanket folded at the foot of your bed. All of it simple, all of it yours. You lie down at last, letting the straw mattress cradle your tired body. The blanket is rough against your skin but warm. Your head rests where it always has, your thoughts drifting like smoke toward the rafters. And before you close your eyes, you offer up one last thought to the quiet.
Thank you for the day.
No one answers, of course, but perhaps that's all right. Perhaps the wind hears. Perhaps the stars listen. You close your eyes. The world turns on without you for a while. The fields sleep beneath frost. The chapel bell stands quiet in the dark. The river keeps flowing, slow and steady, past the edge of the village where your feet no longer wander. Tomorrow may come, or it may not. But tonight, you are warm, you are fed, you are at peace. And really, what more can anyone ask? So you sleep. And the world, for now, lets you rest.